Apologize again for no vlog last week. Camera died and corrupted the file encoding. It took a while for my batteries to recharge, so I actually couldn't get anything recorded. On last week's episodes, Bangray's exit was fantastic. Wonderful thematic approach to the show's arc with everyone with the bridging of connections. Wild Tosai Dodeka King looks terrible. I really do not like it. In action. As for Exide, Kujo annoys me due to his manipulation of Emu and really with how his entire rider design is of the support vehicle. The partnership with Emu would make more sense if he wasn't self-sabotaging that whole thing by being a manipulative jerk, since his ultimate goal is to research the bugsters, so it would make more sense to be collaborative with the others on facing it, especially Emu, because Emu is the one that's open to that kind of collaboration with the others as he prioritizes the patient over everything else. And hey, if you keep fighting with him, you still get more research analysis, so you're kind of self-sabotaging yourself by being the jackass to the guy who would help you with your goal. I really don't get why they went that route of antagonism, and it's a recurring problem with Kamen Rider that often the writers are in, they're fighting each other for no reason. It's been a problem for a lot of the Heisei shows, for good and for bad. I mean, some of them have pulled it off, but the thing with Kujo, I don't get, and I doubt they're going to justify it anytime soon. Jyuohger this week, however, had what I believe is its first legitimately bad episode. It's also Sentai's first Halloween episode, so, yeah, not a great way to start it all off on that. This week's episode was written by Jin Tanaka. Jin Tanaka is one of the newer Sentai writers, and I've looked through the listings for the past episodes. He previously wrote episode 12, which was a weak episode, and episode 16, which was a weak episode, episode 25, which was a very weak episode, and episode 26, which, actually that one wasn't bad, as that was the one where Bangray tried to kill, Yamato's friend to do the whole breaking connections thing, but overall he's been the guy behind Jyuohger's, I say worst episodes in quotation marks, as, like I said, this is the first legitimately bad one in my opinion. So, past this, he's just been the meh ones. So, essentially the plot of it is, this annoying girl gets saved by Tusk and then obsesses over him, as in, not even love at first sight, but, extreme infatuation. She dumps her current boyfriend to just parade after him, and even though Tusk keeps refusing her, she insists they're in a relationship now. And it's so frustrating as she's ignoring Tusk's words to this, and even Tusk attempts to try and be nice and let her down easily. He's definitely not being the jerk this time, she's forcing herself on him for really what's a superficial act, and all things considered, since he does that with everybody, and she saw that he was doing it with other people, and how he confronted the monster that was attacking her. Not just attacking her, attacking everybody in the instance where she becomes infatuated with him. And it really sells her as a horrible person with how she dumps the person she's with for having a natural reaction to a monster attack, aka running from it. And it's like he doesn't help that the whole thing is her confronting Tusk to kind of like levu with him is like done in front of a group of people, and she's like a preteen, so it's like one, Japan's not big on public displays of affection, so there's one cultural condemnation for that kind of action in public. Two, massive age difference. Like, ridiculously massive age difference. So it's even more like they're looking at him as if he's a pedophile, and it's it's terrible, as instead of telling her off and as is in character for Tusk, he drags her away from everybody, which kind of just reinforces their thought and condemnation is true, and it's not funny. Like, not in any respect. It gets even worse in that they're trying to suddenly stress a whole attraction between Tusk and Almu that, admittedly, there have been a few signs of it in previous episodes, that they have kind of a closer connection than Tusk and Almu would say to Sella and Leo, but it's not exactly been something like in the form of infatuation, just that Almu's a certain type of person that likes, I don't know, grates on Tusk, so they kind of have a stronger rapport, and the girl is admittedly Almu turned up to 11, and I already haven't been that big a fan of Almu this series because of her annoying, selfish tendencies. She's catty. I get the joke they were trying to do with her personality. It's just I don't like that person that acts that way, regardless of who they are. So, this girl being worse than her is not a good thing for me. And it's, this is all building to a punchline where, Almu does the same thing Tusk did for her when Tusk is not around, and then she gets infatuated with Almu. It's like, be my prince, you princess! No, I want to be the princess! Help! Help! And it's like, it's not even schadenfreude, it's like reinforcing how terrible a person this girl is, and to essentially redo the exact same joke that's been going all episode and annoyed the crap out of me. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like she's being terrible with it, but it's really a lot sold by the performance of how irritating her actions are, and how everybody else shrugs this off while she's forcing Tusk into things she doesn't want to do, and with it shifting to Almu and them doing the same thing, it's not like, oh no, this person is kind of a kook, we should actually help them out. It's like, nah, now that it's on Almu, it's not their problem anymore. And, of course, when they shifted to Almu, Tusk is then suddenly devastated, even though he didn't like the girl in the first place and was trying to get rid of her. It's like, what the hell? I'm skipping past this a lot because I don't want to really dwell on this, because I just want to forget it happened, because Jyuohger's otherwise been very good. Monster of the Week is Jyuohger themed, in that it's a high-pitched samba dancing monster with a design reminiscent of what was D-Boss after he becomes a butterfly almost. Actually, I take that back. It almost kind of looks like a bacteria or a virus, which was kind of the stylistic design elements of the dinosaur D-Boss form, and to an extent elements of D-Boss's story with viral and genetic absorption and a lot of other smaller elements to Jyuohger. So it's not too bad. They use a bunch of Jyuohger elements like the dancing, which is very reminiscent of Jyuohger's transformation dance. They use a few visual gags that were common in Jyuohger, like Kyowa Red Carnival's transformation, which in the background had a bunch of clones of itself dancing in the background. They did that with this monster. They had it ignite itself on fire, which I don't remember so much that being a Jyuohger thing, but something infrequent with the last few Sentai series where that infrequently happens. Specifically the Ninja, but I can kind of see it being reminiscent of just Jyuohger's emphasis on the explosions and how it would more direct them. So yeah, that's kind of a good homage for them. I know a lot of past Jyuohger monsters have been having the homages to some type of thematic from past series. It's just that this one is really damn obvious in it. So, yeah, the monster was actually more interesting than the main plots with the annoying girl. And kind of what I lasted the episode through, as otherwise I would not have lasted through the episode. Exide. We're finally getting the Black Exide's identity, aka Commander Genom, who is Kuroto-dan of the Genom Corporation, and apparently, as revealed at the end of the episode, he is actively cooperating with the Bugsters for their planned game. And this more builds context to what the Bugsters' actual goals are. They want to take over the world, of course, but they're doing it through the rules of a game, in that they actually have to win against versus players to assert their dominance, ergo the creation of the gaming writers for the opposing team. I get the idea that Genom has done this in his own way for the challenge, and at least from what we've got so far, in that he's the wild card player that wants to face someone on the same tier as him, so have joined the opposing team instead of outright helping him. Or otherwise, that's at least in his writer form, whereas since he's been helping the gaming writers all get set up, it's either to balance both sides or to use the Itachi Uchiha quote, to test his capacity for strength or something, with respect to the power he has as the Black Exide. I shouldn't even refer to it as Black Exide anymore, it's Genom, but he's using the Mighty Action X prototype, and yet he's still kicking everyone's ass. Main plot is the next 4 Gashots are ready for deployment, and they're all armor power-up types, with Exide in the episode gaining Kekitotsu robots, which gives him body armor and a kick-ass gauntlet that I just love seeing visually, as it's Rider Rocket Punch. Not with the rocket module like Forrest had, but it's an actual rocket punch in the classical Japanese way of it launching from the arm to impact the opponent, and then he connects, as Aldo the Fox pointed out on the Tokipedia's Tumblr page, it's the finishing move is both that to hit the opponent and pin them, and then he hammer connects back with the arm to create a secondary punch, and it's just awesome. And I'm not a big fan on the contrasting red and pink of the Gaim level 3 form, but it overall works design-wise, if not aesthetic-wise. And another thing I really like about it is the whole Gundam V it has at the top of it, as that's distinctly Japanese. That is reminiscent of other robot series, even though this is most of this stuff is based on retro gaming, but Gundam's pretty old, so common element. It's a nice homage there, and I really like the design. They retrieve it, however, from something of an odd way, in that the stolen Gashots are inserted into Bugster viruses, so this possibly means that these 4 are either bugged themselves, or the Gashots can be infected with the Bugster virus to automatically spawn their own thematic Bugsters, instead of needing to use host bodies to propagate themselves. We don't exactly know yet, because it kind of comes up out of nowhere, while the rest of them think it manifested from the individual that stole the Gashots. And thing is, it wasn't technically a person that did it, it was Graphite in his human form. And this is a bit confusing, as they haven't exactly established what Graphite and Parad are. Are they fully manifested Bugsters, so that after their original host disappears, they can take on the form of them, as they're no longer dependent on them to exist in the real world? Or are they bugsters that hybridize themselves with their hosts so that they can fully manifest as bugsters but still take on the form of their hosts. I think it's the next piece of lore establishment that really needs to be addressed alongside what's up with Asuna, considering she is both bugster-like and yet benign. I would really like to see that looked into. Especially considering how Dan appears to still be playing both sides, with how after the gas shots are stolen, he gets Kujo and Taiga into trying to retrieve them in their own way, as incentivizing them for that. So it's like he's trying to keep all of the four involved in the games that are being set up, even though the various players have very different personality and ideological issues for why they're even involved. And I see that backfiring not long into the future, where after they settle all of their personality disputes, there'll be a very strong counterforce for fighting the bugsters. But I can see that being more related to his obsession, where he's not thinking that strategically for the long term. It will probably be reliant on the next few pieces of lore expansion, specifically relating to Taiga and Kagami, and how that's happening next week, where Kagami gets his level 3 form in relation to the person he I shouldn't say just, but lost 5 years ago, which has influenced his feud with Taiga. I'm looking forward to the next episode, which both of these are not next episodes for the shows are not airing until November 13th, so I'm gonna have no vlog to talk about next week because there will be no material for me to discuss, unfortunately. So yeah, Exide 5 still keeping me interested in the conflict, though I'm a bit irked that they didn't learn the identity of Don in this episode. It was kind of revealed to the audience and not so much the writers themselves. But considering that they still have to mediate how they're going to be playing them in the long term, I can understand why they did that. But, actually, that brings up another thing I haven't mentioned. This episode is also addressing more of Emu's mental states in how his gaming personality and his doctor personality conflict with each other, and how the others see his otherwise caring nature for patients as something that is not really going to help them in this conflict, and how all of them see that he needs to be more ruthless. He can't care about the patient in the midst of battle. However, thus far in the series, we've shown that it's been shown that to not be true, and that he's actually helping the bugster viruses subside in their hosts to give them a better chance at saving them. Now, I can kind of understand that from Don's perspective, as that's not what he wants. He couldn't care less about the people that are being harmed to get his game. So I can see, but it's odd that he's both encouraging him by describing him as a crystal that radiates care to all his patients, versus alluding to his own corruption that will destroy him if he gets too close. So I can kind of see the, like the others, I can kind of see the angle they're going with. Especially since if they kill Emu's caring side to become ruthless like the others in the pursuit of their goals, then it removes the capability to weaken the bugsters in battle against him. So it's interesting, though it's a bit frustrating how they're beating a dead horse on this so much, when it really feels like they should be pacing this out, as I guess Emu is both good and bad in this respect. I should like I've often said, these vlogs are often stream of consciousness. So, what am I actually saying with this? Emu's compassion is good for a doctor, not so much for a warrior in a combat zone. Yeah, I think that fits. Also, something that's starting to grate on me is Emu is very boisterous in his fighting persona, but in his normal civilian persona, I've been hearing more and more his voice being very whiny, and that's not something I have been liking, as it's kind of hard to assert your position of your belief. It's hard to assert the position of your beliefs when you're like nasally, whiny, voicey in that, as it seems like you're complaining to someone instead of having a disagreement or difference of opinion with them. It's like you're that kind of voice implies that you're fighting a losing argument, and that's probably not something you should be having with the guy you're supposed to have your audience agreeing with over actually giving a damn about the lives of other people. Yeah. In battle, when he's more confident in himself, that makes sense for the to have a contrast between the two, but it's a bit too nails on chalkboardy. Not quite painful nails on chalkboardy, but you're not selling him and his viewpoints as strong during those situations. So I'm hoping they dial that back as the show goes on and they kind of mesh the two more clearly. Yes. As I said, there's no Exide and no Jyuohger next week, but in 2 weeks we will be discussing the appearance of Bud and the as the 7th Jyuohger, and the next armor upgrade for the Exide team. And it's very nice to see that they're all getting these upgrades instead of it just going to 1 or 2 riders, considering they're currently listed to be 6 coming up. So we'll see what happens there. See ya.